Picture this. On December 7th, 2018, XXXTentacion's record label, Empire, would release his first posthumous album, Skins. You give the album a listen, hearing that a majority of his songs featured on the project are mostly complete. Eventually, you reach the fourth track of the album. Filled with anticipation, you press play on the song. While listening to the song, you quickly realize that the majority of the song is just the hook, recorded by X, looped throughout most of the song, giving it this illusion that it's a complete song. Not thinking much of it, you continue listening to the album. However, this leaves us with one question. Was there ever more to the song? When XXXTentacion passed away on June 18th, 2018, the rap community was left in shock, with rappers who knew of X quickly paying their respects towards his legacy online. Amongst these rappers was the famous Juice WRLD, who at the time was known for making similar music to X. Similar to Playboi Carti and Lil Uzi Vert, the two were always being compared to one another, with fans constantly wanting a collaboration song between the two artists. Some fans would even go as far as to create fan-made songs featuring both X and Juice, dreaming of what it would be like if the two artists had made a song together. It's one thing if a fan makes an unofficial collaboration. However, what if the labels both of the artists had signed to before their passing decided to do this themselves and pass it on as an official collaboration? What if these labels released a collaboration song between the two artists 5 to 6 years after they both passed away to seemingly capitalize and milk whatever they can from X and Juice's names? This is a complicated history of the XXXTentacion and Juice WRLD collaboration. Following the passing of XXXTentacion, Juice WRLD would pay his respect towards X by freestyling on the instrumentals for Sad, releasing a 2-song EP, performing his songs on stage, and even mentioning him in interviews.
Dead or alive, any artist ever, who would you most like to collaborate with?
Somebody that I didn't get to collab with yet, that I wanted to. Can I pick 2 people?
Yep.
Lil Peep and XXXTentacion. R.I.P. For sure.
Before X had passed away, he and Juice had discussed a possible collaboration on a song together, but unfortunately, this would never happen while X was still alive, since both artists never had the chance to meet up in person. As a side note, before anyone mentions this in the comments, none of these images are real. These are all photoshopped since X and Juice never met up in person, and I'm hoping that we all know that, right? However, on March 19th, 2019, Juice decided to record on the song Woah, Mind and Awe, which was mentioned earlier, adding his vocals to the song and even adding an entire verse. A year later, in October of 2022, DJ Scheme, who was a close friend of both artists, had made a tweet on Twitter which read "Bad Vibes 999," which made people believe that this was a hint towards a collaboration, since Bad Vibes was X's thing and 999 was the signature number used by Juice WRLD. Eventually, word would spread online that Juice did in fact record a verse on Woah, Mind and Awe. However, nothing else would be mentioned about this collaboration for the next few years. In late January of 2022, John Cunningham, XXXTentacion's producer, would mention a new song that was being worked on for an X and Juice collaboration in a Discord Q&A. Let me repeat, a brand new song. Not the woah remix, no. A brand new, possibly labeled, manufactured song.
I was wondering if the X verse for the X and Juice song, is it leaked or is it like a unheard?
Unheard, baby.
Is it a 2022 release or nah?
I hope so.
Fans were surprised to hear that a new song was in the works, despite people already knowing that Juice had recorded on Woah many years ago up until this point. This gave us more questions than answers since we had no idea what was going to happen to the Woah remix. However, before any questions were answered, months later, on March 31st, the first teaser for the new song would be posted on XXXTentacion's Instagram. This now infamous photo would bring both positive and negative feedback from not only fans of X and Juice, but even online content creators.
I swear to God, if it's just like a Juice WRLD unreleased song, because he's got thousands, we already know this, where they just slapped on an unfinished X verse from a completely different song. Like, I don't even think they talked in person in real life. They may have DM'd, but again, how would you know?
Shortly after the image was posted on April 2nd, a snippet of the upcoming collaboration song, which had no name yet, would leak online, which only added more fuel to the fire.
Waterfalls
on leak.cx.
Waterfalls
on leak.cx.
Waterfalls
on leak.cx.
It would turn out that Juice WRLD's record label, Grade A, would take the vocals from an unreleased song called Inner Peace and would use them in a new song from X, as heard in the snippet. Again, they had took vocals from this unreleased song and put it onto this new X song. There was already a Woah remix recorded, but for some reason was just not being cleared for reasons we don't know yet. 2 days later, on April 4th, a snippet for the Woah remix would leak, which allowed fans to hear some of Juice WRLD's verse for the first time, since it was recorded all the way back in 2019. Unfortunately, this would divide fans over which song they had liked more. Eventually, on April 2nd, a rough draft for the new song, now known as The Way, would leak online. The song had indeed contained unheard vocals from X, but the same couldn't be said for Juice, since Inner Peace had already been leaked way before The Way did. The song had received mixed reactions from fans alike, since it was only just a rough draft of the song and not the official version, meaning it wasn't complete yet. In the following month of May, 2 more versions of The Way would leak, which were better received by fans. However, on June 2nd, Pete, one of Juice WRLD's managers, would find out about The Way leaking through a fan's Instagram story, asking when The Way would release. Pete would voice his annoyance by responding with, "Nope, y'all leaked it." Following this interaction, Grade A and Empire would both go silent on updates about The Way and would stop teasing the song altogether. This led many fans to believe that the song was cancelled since it had been leaked, which left the whole collaboration surrounded by obscurity for the next few years. I should also mention that it was revealed last year that The Way was going to have official merch released alongside the song, but it was never released. In addition, nobody knew when the song would release, but my best guess would have been June 18th of 2022, since Empire released I'm Not Human with Lil Uzi Vert and X on streaming services that day. What honestly makes this whole situation more strange is that the image used to promote The Way was actually from a fan that had used it in a concept for a cover art. However, I'm not gonna outright say that Grade A and Empire had stole the artwork, because they very well could have bought the rights to it, and I'm pretty sure that if 2 major record labels had used that image, the creator would have spoken out about it by now. Following the silence from both record labels, everyone thought that the song had been cancelled, which led many people to just move on and even outright forget about the collaboration entirely. This had been the case for the next 2 years until Grade A decided to finally break the silence. On July 18th, 2024, 2 years after Grade A and Empire had gone silent on the collaboration, we would finally get an update through an Instagram post by none other than everyone's favorite, Lil Bibby. I remember being so excited that the collaboration wasn't cancelled and was still happening 2 years later. Shortly after the announcement, DJ Scheme would make a tweet on Twitter revealing that the 2 songs would be released, meaning that The Way, the label manufactured song, and the woah remix would both be released. Weeks later, in August 2024, DJ Scheme would give us an update while live streaming on Twitch.
That was a great stream. I love you guys. W's in the chat. Don't worry. Hey, the music's coming out soon. I spoke with John last night. We had a good conversation. Y'all will see those 2 songs that we talked about. We've been talking about soon. The teams are, there's one video done and there's another one that's about to be done. So those are the updates.
However, in early September, the woah remix would end up leaking, which allowed fans to hear Juice WRLD's entire verse for the first time. Unfortunately, the update from DJ Scheme would be the last time any updates would be given about the collaboration, since Grade A would shift their focus towards the rollout for Juice WRLD's upcoming album, The Party Never Ends. Which yet again led towards another long period of silence. However, there is always light at the end of every tunnel.
Alright, so remember a couple of videos ago when I talked about P going into the IG group chat and said in 6 to 7 weeks something is dropping? Well, apparently this is the follow-up to it. In an IG story from Lil Baby, he alluded to some type of collab between Juice and X.
Juice and X Cloud. Juice and X.
After 3 years since The Way was cancelled and 10 whole months since the announcement by Lil Baby in June of 2024, on May 23rd, 2025, it would be officially announced that the woah remix would finally be released on May 30th, 2025. The world would finally see an official collaboration between XXXTENTACION and Juice WRLD 5 to 6 years after they had both passed away. However, not every story would have a happy ending. Unfortunately, there are 2 major issues Grade A and Empire had failed to see before the release. The first issue would be negative reception that came from the song, specifically Juice WRLD's verse, with listeners quickly pointing out how the autotune on Juice WRLD's vocals sounded off. Whoever produced this honestly has me concerned. Did it not occur to you to maybe fix the autotune? Shortly after the release, John Cunningham, the producer who worked on the song, would take to Twitter and would inform everyone that a new mix is currently being worked on for the song. The second issue was the amount of time they took with this release. They very well could have released this in 2019 or even 2022 as promised. However, this is mainly Grade A's fault, since they didn't even want to clear the remix to begin with. Despite all the issues at hand, the world would finally get to experience an official collaboration between XXXTentacion and Juice WRLD. May both artists rest in peace.